Greetings and welcome to another powerful edition of the Community Defender Talk Show. One powerful hour of truth, dispelling falsehood. I'm your host, Brother Darrell Muhammad, and we're very glad that you have tuned in to tonight's program. We know a lot of our people are very distraught over the political situation. But the thing I want our people to know is that the political situation is not the determining factor of what happens to us as a people. It is what we do that will determine the outcomes that we get. And unfortunately, too many of us believe in the system and not in the potential of the unity of our people as a whole. We really don't believe in the potential of that unity. And because we don't believe in that potential, we can never tap into the potential of ourselves. And so I just wanted to lay a few things out there. Tonight's topic, which is a very direct topic, and that is, it is the topic of America hates black people. Now, the thing I want to say is many of us try to frame it as a Republican thing, that the right-wing Republicans have a problem with black people. But I am going to present to you evidence tonight that it is all of America, both those who call themselves Democrats as well as Republicans, that actually hate black people and desire that black people not succeed in family life, economic life, educational life, or any other avenue of progress. And that's just what it is. We have to come face to face with what our real situation is in the United States of America. We got to come face to face with it. Now, I'm going to read you something, and if you're not a thinker, if you are one of those people that allows the Democrat or the Republican Party to set in your mind what you believe the agenda should be for black people, then the Community Defender Talk Show is not for you. But if all that we've done over these many years has failed to get us the level of justice that we would want, failed to get us the economic development, the educational resources that we would want, then it is obvious that we need to try the plan of God, because we've tried the plan of our enemies, which is to beg them to get in their schools, beg them to work for them in their jobs, in their businesses, try to join their army, their navy, their air force, their marines, and try to fit in with them, try to run for elective office in their system. And there's a place for politics. But you are trying to get into everything that's theirs and therefore never getting anything of your own. See, as long as I was content with riding in my daddy's car, riding in my mama's car, I could never get a vehicle of my own. I had to at some point say, you know what, I want my own car, and go to the dealership and get my own car. So at some point as black people, we need to want something of our own. Now, I'm going to lay this out here. There's a book called Message to the Black Man. Message to the Black Man is by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In this Black History Month, you need to get this message to the black man. You need to get your hands on a copy of this book and read it and stop begging. Read it and stop crying. Read it and unify, and black men and black women, keep your families together. Read this book. Okay? There's nothing out there. Nobody is coming to save us. As the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has said, we must depend on Allah, God, and ourselves. That's it. You can call the government if you want to. You can call the Democrats if you want to. But nobody has given us a real answer to our dilemmas. Now, in this book, toward the end of it, now you should read it from cover to cover. is still the top seller. The Nation of Islam website, this is the top seller. It's number one. This and the Eat to Live are top sellers because of the great information in it. Now, in this book, let me set it up for you. He has a section in this book called Answer to the Critics, where he prints out what they said about him. So there was a letter by the leader of the Klan at the time, written to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the man that is back here on the screen, written to him by a man by the name of J.B. Stoner. J.B. Stoner. Now, I'm going to read to you what J.B. Stoner wrote to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which he prints. He publishes what these people are thinking that they wrote him. He puts it in the book for you to see, and then he also puts his response in that same book. Now, this is what the Klansman said, Mr. J.B. Stoner. He says to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said, if you were as good as whites and equal to us, you would not be trying to force yourselves into white society. You would be happy with the company of your fellow Africans. Or is the odor too much for you? Now, he's coming with insults. We already know that we are the ones that brought bathing every day to Europe. Okay, black folks are the ones who brought soap to Europe, and the idea of bathing more than once a year was brought to Europe by the Africans. Let's break it down. They did not have any soap. They were not cooking their food with seasoning and spices. We brought that to Europe. There would be no onions. There would be no salt and pepper, no cayenne, no oregano if Africans had not brought it to us. So let's get that straight. He says, oh, is the odor too much for you? Since you niggers, this is his words, don't respect your own race and don't love your own race enough to preserve it, how can you expect white people to respect it? This is J.B. Stoner. How I have more respect for an African who believes in black supremacy and racial purity than I do an African who hates his own race and tries vainly to disown it. And many of our elected officials, what do? They try to, I don't know those Negroes, you know. So even though he's a racist dog, there is some truth in what he's saying. He said, I admire the African who says that no white man is good enough to shake hands with him. So now he admires, he's saying, a self-respecting black person. He says, I hope you will appreciate the fact that I am not a hypocrite like some Yankees who preach race mixing and practice segregation. I actually express the sentiments and feelings that are in the hearts of most white people everywhere when I tell you that I believe in white supremacy and the inferiority of all dark races. So this is what he's saying. Now he is even recognizing that when he calls them Yankees, meaning the people from up north who preach race mixing and practice segregation. And he said, I actually express the sentiments and feelings that are in the hearts of most white people everywhere when I tell you that I believe in white supremacy and in the inferiority of all dark races. Now, some of you, because he was a Klan leader, and I'm sure he's deceased now because this book was published 60 years ago, and he was probably a man of some age at the time that he wrote this to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, it is filled with a bunch of insults to black people, but it is also filled with critical questions of why are you trying to force yourself into white society if you believe yourself to be just as good as anybody. And the real reason is because we as black people say we're just as good as anybody, but in a lot of times we really don't believe we're as good as anybody because of how we act as a people. we still use the words good hair and bad hair. Bad hair is what? The African textured hair. Good hair is the hair that is closer to the European textured hair. And this is our language in our community about ourselves. So understand, you and I have been sickly attempting to force ourselves into places that we're not wanted. Now, I'm going to attempt to get into this right quick. And 2-0. All right, boom. Now, I want to start off with the first slide. And this is going to show you that both Democrats and Republicans hate our guts and disrespect black folks. Now, pardon the misspelling because it should have said listed by America. Listed by America as a terrorist from 1981 to 2008. Okay, that's 27 years that Nelson Mandela was listed as a terrorist. Ronald Reagan put him on the terrorist list. Okay? After Ronald Reagan's 8 years, George Bush Sr. kept him on the terrorist list. Then when Bill Clinton came in for his 8 years, Bill Clinton kept him on the terrorist list for all 8 years of his presidency, even though he had already been the president and left office. He yet referred to him officially as a terrorist. Even as he was in America visiting the White House, he was still on Bill Clinton's list as a terrorist. Of course, he was the president for a little over 5 years in South Africa from 1994, from May 10th in 1994 to June 14th in 1999. So a little over, a little change over 5 years. But he was listed as a terrorist under both Democratic as well as Republican administrations. And at the end, George Bush, on his way out the door, George W. Bush took him off the terrorist list on the way out the door. I don't know if Barack Obama would have taken him off of there at all. He might have been too scared. Let's go with the next slide. Now, is that no, that's not the next one. Let me see. Is that the next one? The Ukraine one, the one before that, good brother. Yeah, there we go. All right. I just wanted to lay this out here for you. Over 600,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed. Basically, they've been feeding y'all a bunch of lies. Russia has won the war. They're just waiting for the final collapse of the last few brigades, but they have eliminated brigades, wiped them out totally with no survivors over the past few months. Russia is tearing their tails up. All right? Russia is winning. Now, if you look down on this slide, and I went on ChatGPT, it's an excellent resource, and it said that $183 billion has been allocated to the Ukraine to fight Russia. $183 billion. I think the Biden administration gave about $11 billion over a longer period of time to HBCUs. But it's clear that $183 billion was allocated to Ukraine, basically a Nazi country, to fight Russia. Additionally, over 319 Ukrainians have been processed into the U.S. That's just regular Ukrainians just running over here, getting visas, able to stay. 319,000 Ukrainians. I checked the ethnicity. Okay, over 99% of the Ukrainians have been Caucasian. Okay, I went and checked. I went on ChatGPT. I went on AI, and AI told me that they were white folks. They were of different ethnic groups in white folks, but they were largely white folks. So I checked just to see, because you got to Do your research. Another 170,000 Ukrainians have been paroled into the U.S. under the U4U program. That's the United for Ukraine program. So now they've been allowed to come in, okay, in droves. Now even as both Biden as well as Obama as well as Trump rounded up a bunch of Mexicans, they have yet opened the floodgates for Ukrainians. They have let more Ukrainians, almost 500,000 Ukrainians, have been let in this country under the Biden administration under the guise of them running from a war-ravaged place. And so they've been allowed just to come in. White folks can just come in. They have a civil war or something going on in their country. They allowed them to come in. Joe Biden allowed white folks to come in. All right? That's what you need to understand. And it's almost 500,000 of them. If you add this up, it's almost 500,000 people. It's almost 500,000 people. It is 489,000 people that they have let in here. Okay? And only a handful of them have been deported after they commit crimes. About 5 or 6 Ukrainians were deported. But all 22,000, we'll get to that later, were deported of Haitians that were seeking that. Now, you can go back to the previous slide, brother, that had Joe Biden and Kamala on there. All right, here we go. We're just giving you an education. Now, keep in mind, if you're not a thinker, this is the wrong channel for you. The wrong channel for you. Now, according to ChatGPT, the U.S. government has allocated significant funding for humanitarian and other support services for displaced Ukrainians. Relief agencies have provided them with job placement, right? And some of y'all have black men that are looking for jobs right now, but the Ukrainians all had jobs. Language classes and integration into U.S. communities. All right. Now, here's the thing I wanted to lay out. They gave them food stamps, housing. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to white folks, America understands that they can't just bring you to America with nothing and just throw you out here. They understand that you need support to make it because you're going through a so-called traumatic situation. So they're not going to just throw you into America without a place to stay, without food to eat, without health care, without schooling. They even gave these Ukrainians, according to the government websites, they gave them job training. Job training, food stamps, free housing, everything to get started and integrated into, as well as language classes with people that speak Ukrainian that were going to help them to speak English better, to put their children in school. Everything. They were given everything, even the toilet paper to wipe their butt. Joe Biden gave it to these Caucasians from the Ukraine. We're just dealing with facts. We're just dealing with facts. Okay? And I know it's hard on some lifelong Democrats, but I'm not a lifelong Democrat. I'm a lifelong black man. Lifelong. Okay? And proud of it. Now, let's go to the next slide right quick and just deal with Haitians. And I think there's a map of Haiti. There it is right there. Now, over 22,000 Haitians were deported by Biden. They were seeking refugee status. Now, let me tell you how it was. The United States government from Miami plotted to overthrow and to kill Moise, who was the president of Haiti. So they went in there, and it was English-speaking Caucasians who blocked the street. They went in, shot Moise. Some say it was because he was against the vaccine. After they killed Moise, the next week they sent over 500,000 doses of the mRNA vaccine, which we know caused all kind of health problems, which we know, you're talking about all of this cardiac arrest, sports players. I think the brother on Monday Night Football fell out. All of these people just dropping dead on football fields, basketball courts started happening after this shot came in. That's just what I'm observing. That's just what I'm observing. Now, so all of the Haitians that ran over here, they were ran down by horseback. I didn't have time to get the pictures, but we had actually showed the pictures on a previous show where they were being whipped and chased on horseback by Border Patrol. The Ukrainians were brought into new homes and stayed in hotels while the black Haitians under the Biden administration were beat, whipped, and sent back into Port-au-Prince, and the destabilization was caused by the actions plotted on American soil. So you kill their president, and I wasn't there. How do you know they killed their president? Look, it was planned in Miami. That's a matter of public record. Miami is where? In the United States. The people who blocked off the street spoke English without an accent. Okay? They were white folks. They blocked the street off until he was dead. That's the report that I read. Now, that means what? You killed a man. He said he was not going to allow the vaccine in. That we know. And we know that a week later, you sent 500,000 doses of vaccines after he was dead because he wouldn't let them in. We know this, okay? Now, you can take it or let it alone. We ain't got time to play with you. And again, if you're not a thinker, this is the wrong channel for you because we're dealing with facts. We're not dealing with emotion or what you think about somebody. We're dealing with facts. So the fact is he let 500,000 white folks in. Okay? But he would not let in 22,000 black folks in. That's Joe Biden. Well, Trump is a racist. I agree with you. I'm just telling you that Joe Biden may be a more efficient racist than even Donald Trump is. 500,000 versus 22,000. The 22,000, we ain't got room for you. But we got room for 500,000. And not only do we have room, we have free housing, free education, free health care, free job training, free toilet paper to wipe your butt with, free soap to wash your behind with. We got it all for you. All you got to do is show up. Show up and be white because our demographic is shifting. And just like Trump wants the demographic to remain more Caucasian, if you don't think Joe Biden had the same damn thing in his mind, you got another thing coming. He had the same, and he did it. He didn't just talk about it, he did it. And the Congressional Black Caucus didn't say a damn thing to Biden. They supported Biden. They got on TV and cried when he dropped out. But you don't cry tears for the hundreds of thousands of black people that are on lockdown in this country. You can cry for an old racist white man, but cannot cry for your own people. And even your boy, Obama, when those 22 precious children who happened to be Caucasian at Sandy Hook was killed, they said, and there's even a picture of Barack Obama crying uncontrollably. But when he bombed Somalia and killed all those black babies in black Somalia, when he killed the 20,000 Africans that fought in Libya, it was a total of 50,000 people. He didn't cry a tear because he does not love us like he loves them folks. And we got the evidence to prove it. The Republicans were against him, yeah, and he was against us. And I can prove it to you. Because of what he did in Africa, bombing in the Sudan, he was bombing in Darfur, bombing in the Sudan. I mean, Barack Obama was bombing in Yemen. I mean, the dude won the Peace Prize, but he really should have won the War Prize. I'm just laying it out there. It was a total sham. America hates black people. It's not just the Republicans. I know Jeff Landry is crazy. I know his policies are right wing, but it is not just Jeff Landry. There's no way that thing could have passed with an override-proof majority unless it was all of them. That's right. Bottom line, it's all of them. if it's not all of them, it's damn sure not enough of them to make a doggone difference. America hates black people. Understand that. Louisiana. Black people make Louisiana. Okay, all of everything that anybody comes to Louisiana to see is black culture. Whether it's music, you understand, the best trumpet player in the world is from New Orleans. Right? The best trumpet player in the world is from New Orleans. Okay, some of the best engineers and doctors came out of Xavier University from New Orleans. Okay, we are a powerful race of people in the state of Louisiana. But the bottom line of it is, no matter how brilliant we are, America hates us. Right? Eddie Robinson. Do you know how much racism Eddie Robinson had to deal with when he became the winningest coach in football, passed up Bear Bryant? Do you know how many N-word letters he got just to coach football? And I'm told that when he got to Grambling, he was the football coach, the basketball coach at the same doggone time. I want you to think about that. And the baseball coach for a while. Because they didn't care anything about black people. Just let one man coach those Negroes. They didn't give us nothing. And he had to get it out the mud, and Hall of Famers, educators, scientists, and everything came through his program. And he would wake them up early in the morning with a bell to instill that discipline in me. He worked with nothing to produce something. You understand? So the first black person to win as quarterback, Doug Williams, came right from under Eddie Robinson. And from right there in Zachary, Louisiana. Powerful brother. Powerful family. But America hates that family. Louisiana hates that family. And we as black people have to stop acting like somebody's going to love us. You're going to have to love your doggone self. Because love ain't coming from the state government. Love ain't coming from the federal government. And love ain't coming from the city government. It ain't coming from the police department. And because we're so self-hating, look at what happened to that brother in Memphis, how he was stomped to death by black people who had the mind of white people. Just laying it out there. You understand? So even when we take over, we can't give each other justice. You understand? Thank God for the wonderful example of Murphy Paul, the former police chief in Baton Rouge, who got rid of a lot of the corruption. But out of fear, our sister returned to the status quo with the appointment she made subsequent to that. Let's go with the next slide right quick. And y'all can call in just a second. We're ready to hear from you. Now, here's the thing I want to tell you. All three of these people betrayed the black voter. All of them. Listen to me. All of them. Bill Clinton and Joe Biden with their crime bill. Barack Obama made it harder for you to get student loans at a HBCU. He said the graduation rate of HBCUs was too low, and he went to talking about HBCUs. But I went to a school, to a PWI, that at the time I went to it, I graduated from Southern, but I went to a PWI in New Orleans that they said only 1 out of 20 at the time I matriculated there was going to graduate. 1 out of 20. Nobody worried about their graduation rate, and they didn't have problems with student loans getting or anything like that. But Barack Obama put the screws on black institutions. My son was even caught up in it. Okay? To where it was difficult for him. Well, people had to co-sign it because it was just, he had to go through so much to get his aid. But the point is that he betrayed us. He didn't fight for anything that we needed. He didn't address at all mass incarceration. He pardoned a few people, which was good, but he left so many people in jail. And then when you look at Joe Biden already showed his true colors on the way out the door. He did not want jail for his son, who was a crackhead, who distributed more crack than most of the people that Joe Biden's bill put in jail. His son was a bigger criminal than probably your nephew who's still doing life right now. His son was a bigger criminal. And what did he do? He put his son in treatment. And then when his son was about to go to jail, he just pardoned his son and pardoned all of his family members because he wanted your black behind in jail. But he didn't want his white family in there, which means he was your enemy from the beginning. Joe Biden was your enemy from the beginning, and then we have a nerve to cry tears when he drops out the race. Why are we talking about Joe Biden and rather than the other guy? I mean, it was Van Jones on CNN crying. It was sad. Roland Martin about to cry. This is just undignified for us to behave this way as black people. And you got to get something for yourself. Okay, if you don't have, nobody's going to respect you. Like if I ride with people, I always need a ride. I ain't never got no gas money. I want to go everywhere. People will get tired of a beggar. They'll say, man, why don't you get up off your ASS and go to work? Why don't you do something for yourself, man? You always asking me for something to eat. You get up and go get something to eat, right? So the point is that we got to do something for ourselves. You got to grow your own food. Start a garden. You can't depend on Wally World. You can't depend on Super One. You can't depend on all these other, them to do everything for you. You can do something for yourself. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying don't shop right now. But I am saying that we need to wane our way off the dependence of other people. Okay? Just laying some things out there. You and I got to think, because we're crying about the attack on DEI. But we haven't done anything to create jobs for our own people. The NAACP is not focused on creating jobs and economically unifying black people. The Urban League, you're not focused on what's going to help black people. You're focused on getting in the butt crack of white folks. You brag about how you went to Georgetown, how you went to the University of Pennsylvania, how you had an opportunity to go to these schools because of diversity, equity, inclusion, and I was able to get an education. No, you were able to get an indoctrination. There's a difference between an indoctrination and an education, because they told you about Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates. They didn't tell you about Imhotep and Askia Muhammad. They didn't tell you about the great African civilization of Mali. They didn't tell you about the achievements of black people. They didn't go over all of that at Princeton and at Yale. Okay? And from what I'm told, a lot of the African studies courses that are taught there at these places are predominantly, it's the white folks that are getting in them. Because when you go to Harvard, you don't want to see any Negroes. I'm at Harvard. I had great ACT scores. And you don't want to be, you like Mr. J.B. Stoner says in this book, you don't want to identify with your own people. And you're going to continue to get kicked in the behind as long as that's the case. Now, next slide. Okay. Now, my apologies for the spelling. I didn't oversee the spelling, but I appreciate the person trying. I had a child to do this for me, because I don't do computers and we got a spelling issue. But we're going to get it together next time, all right? Now, racist bigot. That's what I got him labeled as. Mr. Trump is attempting to bring white Afrikaners into the U.S. based on supposed discrimination. Okay? Now, here he is, just like Joe Biden. Racist Nazis. One of the issues with Russia is they want the denazification of the Ukrainian government. They think there's too many Nazis and that it's too dangerous to their security because of Nazi ideology. These people who are in South Africa have the same racist mentality. And it was only at a point where it got world attention and sanctions were put on them that they were forced to relinquish some of their political control, but they have economic control. Okay? Now, Mr. Trump has attempted to bring white Afrikaners into the U.S. based on supposed discrimination. So, Joe Biden trying to bring white folk in and not let black folk in. Here comes Donald Trump, because the black South Africans, they have to pay a fee to see if they can get a visa to the State Department, to the embassy and the consulate in South Africa, and most of the time they are not approved, and then the State Department keeps their money. But the white Afrikaners are not going to have to apply. They're going to just come right over here. Whereas the black South Africans are what? They're going to have to pay a fee, and 2/3 of them get turned down, and they lose their money. Okay? Two men, one Republican, one Democrat, same policy. And Barack Obama, this policy was going on like that all the way since Ronald Reagan, all the way since Bill Clinton, all the way since Barack Obama. Barack Obama allowed the State Department to forbid Africans or to limit Africans, and it's wide open for Englishmen, wide open for Germans, wide open for even white Russians, wide open for the white demographic. Your boy Barack Obama never, ever, ever stopped that practice because he was too scared to do it. He did not have the backbone, and you voted for him. We got a good feeling because we had a president that looked like us, but he damn sure didn't think like me. We have nothing in common except some African blood, which is good, some intelligence, which is good, but in terms of his thinking, no, he is not a brother in the fullest sense of the word. Now, next slide, right quick. Now, white Afrikaners are only 7% of the population of South Africa, yet they own 72% of all the land. Okay, now, the ANC has been under pressure by the population and by other political parties to take and redistribute that land, because the Europeans who came there didn't pay anything for the land. Now, why should 7% of the population in an African country own 72% of the land? So Mr. Trump is upset that Africans want to own land in Africa. That's really what it's about. And he's trying to entice them to come over here and to raise the level of Caucasian demographic. Because again, they are very insecure about the change in demographics going on in this country and the potential loss of political and eventually economic power. So everything works fine as long as they feel as though they're going to be running things. But I'm going to ask you a question, black folks. Do you think, because black folks own less than 1% of the wealth of America. We are now 14% of the population. We own less than 1% of all the wealth. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. We are 14% of the population. We own less than 1% of the wealth. Now, we are 20% of the military. So we're actually defending the country at a greater percentage than what our responsibility, if you evened it out, would be. Now, do you think that you could get the Caucasian demographic of people, if they owned 1%, now let's say they own 5% of the wealth of America, do you think that they would go to foreign lands and fight and not owning a good portion of the wealth? Do you think you could get white folks to own nothing and do everything? To fight in all of America's wars and get lynched when they get back. There are black veterans who the police have had the wrong apartment, broke in, man did 12 years in the Marines, they killed him. Beat him to death. It doesn't matter. A black captain pulled into a gas station being tased and beat by white officers while in uniform. So understand that no matter what you do for America, America will not appreciate it. You can fight in all their wars if you want to, but America will not appreciate the contribution that you make. They will steal it, they will exploit it, they will use it to their advantage, but America doesn't give a damn what you do for her, you will not be accepted by her. Get that together. It's not going to happen. One day they'll accept us. No, that's a lie. Anybody that tells you that we have made progress with broken up families, with 20% of our homes being headed by a man and a woman, 80% without. Anybody that tells you that we've made progress as a race of people, with all of the mass incarceration and criminal records that people have where they're locked out of trades. Do you know there are some states in America where you can't even be a barber if you have a felony? You can't even do a fade. You can't even do a taper if you have a felony on your record. So they're locking you out of every mode a lot of times of making money because of what they did. And let's be clear, Ronald Reagan, and this is, you can go right on YouTube and look at the hearings. You can go right on C-SPAN and look at the Kerry hearings where they will tell you before a Senate committee that they brought drugs into America, dumped the drugs in the black community, and hid the oil profits and moved the dope profits, and moved the dope profits to the Contras so they could fight a war against a democratically elected government in Latin America. And they dumped, not after they started the crack epidemic, then they criminalized the epidemic that they imposed on you. Let that sink through your head. They put you on dope, then put you in jail for the dope they put you on. You got to think, man. That's what they did. And we know that there are generations of children now that are what? The children of that era. Right? We have a bunch of emotional men who where the man was actually gone and whatnot. I'm thinking that there's a caller trying to get in. I don't think we're connected. But that because I believe our other director has tried to call. So I don't know, are we connected? Because I didn't test it. Okay, cool. All right, cool. All right. Let me go ahead and. All right. Yes, you're on there with the Community Defender.
Good evening, Brother Darrell, man. Great show, good information. I'm sorry I can't be there with you guys. Listen, briefly, I want to ask you about this, since that's what's the most talked about issue on Super Bowl Sunday, whether or not someone was a fan of the game or fan of the halftime show. I want to get your take on Kendrick Lamar's performance and the meaning behind it if you have time. I know you got a couple of slides left, but here's the backlash. And I want to aim at not what the Caucasians in this area say it on the block, very racist, hateful stuff. Acadiana don't love you, and why we spelled it Acadiana because they added 3 Ks to that word too. But look, the NFL just announced yesterday that they will be looking into not having any performance like Kendrick Lamar. What you think about that? And apparently they don't understand you got black bodies running the ball up and down the field, bringing in all the money and all the attention and all the publicity and all the side money. So let me jump off the line, Brother Darrell, and I'm going to listen on there. Thank you so much.
Well, yes, thank you, good brother. Now, the thing is, a thoughtful analysis about the Kendrick Lamar thing that he did, the lyrics, the consciousness, him exposing the divide in the country, all the colors dividing, coming back together, then dividing. All of those movements were giving you messages. Now, a lot of people didn't like it because it didn't entertain them, because there were a lot of black people online who didn't like it because it wasn't the entertaining foolishness. We would much rather see somebody twerking or something, because we are culturally a lot of times immature ourselves. The white folks, some of the white folks didn't like it because it did have an element of consciousness. It was communicating a higher idea of consciousness in it, right? Where you had Uncle Sam being played by a black person, Uncle Sam, so on and so forth, and this progression as he led it. There was so much in it that it's impossible to really parse it like you would need to. But the thing is that on the plantation, most of the people who lived on the plantation were blacks. In these very large plantations, you would have 300 black folks that lived there, and maybe 20 whites. Okay, 20 whites, 300 blacks, but they were able to keep us all under control. Isn't that amazing? All in the middle of the cane fields, when the people could have rose up in one day and been free. But it's the mind. Go ahead, caller, you on there with the community defender.
Yeah, great topic. America hates black people. Please keep stressing that. And, let's stop worrying about if they like Kendrick Lamar performance and everything else. You said in your topic that America hates black people. And that's the flat line that we all have to understand. Let's stop trying to appease these people and appease ourselves. If we make them that mad that they call us so-called black racists, then let's beat those black racists and stop worrying about what America worries about us about, because it's time for us to worry about us without worrying about them. So keep talking about it, and a great topic, man.
Thank you, sir. I tried to be as direct as possible.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. But the thing I'm gonna say on that, and the caller does bring up an excellent point. They're not going to like all the times our art. I can't really get into country music. I can't really get into certain things that are culturally foreign to me. All right, and they are not going to be able to get into things that are culturally foreign to them, and they do not want a higher level of expression. Now, if we would have had Nicki Minaj, and we would have had women with butt naked with no clothes on shaking their butts, then I think some of the powers that be would have said, these are our Negroes, this is where we want them to stay. But since Kendrick Lamar took things up to a higher level, and they were even upset at the Black National Anthem being sung. It should only be one anthem. Well, hell, you didn't ask black folks what we wanted. You made these decisions while we were in bondage, and hell, we should have a say-so. But no matter how many it is, because again, South African, the white people in South Africa are only 7% of the population, and do they really care about what the other 93% want? No, they don't. And America hates black people, but the West in general hates black people. That's just what, they wouldn't have treated you like that if they didn't hate you. As a matter of fact, if they didn't hate you, you would have never got over here on that slave ship traveling for 9 months in your own excrement and vomit and urine, sitting in that for 9 months, packed in there like sardines. They started out with hate, and they're ending it with hate. There was a white man who pleaded, I think, to a lesser charge because a teenager rung his doorbell mistakenly and just got shot. He just shot him. The teenager was unarmed. White man comes to the door, sees a black young person, and just shoots it. Of course, he had to plead guilty to some lesser charge, but the bottom line of it is, up to this moment, this happened this week, up to this moment, they hate you. If you ring their doorbell and ask for help, they hate you. If you broke down on the side of the road, they hate you. If you do a good job, they hate you. If you go to Iraq, they hate you. There was a case in the Army where there was a black woman who was gang raped while serving in Iraq, and the people put fuel in her genitals to hide the DNA and set her on fire. Wow. To cover. They poured some sort of accelerant in after they murdered her so that it would burn away the DNA evidence. And the family, nobody's been able to get any information. It hasn't been dealt with. This was all the way during so no matter what you do, black people, they're not going to like you. You cannot do anything to please them. You fought in all their wars. You worked twice as hard for half as much. You kiss their butt. You dance. You do whatever. And guess what? It doesn't get you anywhere. The only thing that's going to get our people somewhere is us working together. Buy you some land, plant something on it. Take your children and take them out of school and homeschool them. There are homeschool universities that are Afrocentric in their curriculum, and you can have your children at home learning on the computer where they don't have to deal with all the racism, and they can be taught by their own teachers and their own curriculum. You and I have to take responsibility for the generation that is under our care today and make sure that they get a proper education where they see themselves as reflections of God and as being the legacy of a great African or black heritage of the original people of the earth. And they have to know that they are math. And I can say that coming up in a European curriculum, white folks over the curriculum, white folks writing the textbooks, white folks teaching most of the classes, everything white, right? That I was not as confident in the quantitative areas of study. And that lack of confidence caused me to choose a major that I thought I could pass rather than maybe doing computer science. So had I done computer science, I'd be at home in my flip-flops right now making $600,000 a year, probably doing cybersecurity. Like a lot of these people who took those very difficult classes and had the confidence to do so. Or I might be on an engineering job, not even hardly going into the office, making $350,000. You understand? Because I took the course where you can build something. And civil engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, all these are things, medicine, dentistry, all these are things that you can actually do something with, and you can actually be a builder with that, because the quantitative fields are where we need to be, as well as the trades. That's what's going to bring in the income. That's what's going to set us apart and help us to build something economically for ourselves. But unfortunately, our black civil rights organizations are trying to get in the butt crack of our enemies. That's where they want to live. So that every time the enemy breaks wind, they want to be right there to sniff it up. Okay? Every time he breaks wind, they want to be right there. They don't want to miss any of that foul-smelling air. They want to be right there, and they want all of us to follow them into the butt crack of racist America and try to prove ourselves. Let me just say this. They made the decision when they kidnapped us and brought us over here. They already made the decision as of how they want to treat us. The last slide, I think we have, I want to invite you to something. All right. Now, we have our Savior's Day program, which is going to be next week, Sunday the 23rd. That's next Sunday. 2600 Plank Road in Baton Rouge. 2600 Plank Road in Baton Rouge. Doors open at 1:30. Program starts at 2. That's going to be at Mosque number 65 in Baton Rouge. 2600 Plank Road. Make sure you come. Your skin is your ticket in. Make sure you come. Make sure you come, brothers and sisters, to hear this life-giving message. It's called Repent, for the Kingdom of God is at hand. And we are the cornerstone of that kingdom. You can bring it back to me. I have a special offer I'm going to make to everybody. Now, the first 5 people that come and say, all you got to do is come in there and say that you heard about it from Darrell Muhammad. I'm going to make sure that you get a free copy of this monumental book, Message to the Black Man. And I read some of it for you on today. I've read it for you before. But this book right here is life-changing. Because part of the reason that we are on the bottom is because we got the theology, the God concept that the enemy gave us about God. And being deceived about God enables you to be deceived about everything else. Okay, we got his God that looks like him on our wall. I need y'all to come out 2600 Plank Road a week from today, Sunday, 1:30 p.m. The doors open. Get there. We're going to have food, game. We're going to have everything for you. You're going to have a wonderful meal, both spiritually, mentally, and also physically. All right? So come on out with your brother. I'll be there. And the first 5 people that show up, boom, I'm going to hit you with this life-changing book that got me on the right path. All right? So just remember, we love you. We look forward to seeing you. I hope I didn't hurt your feelings. But again, we got to tell you the truth because we love you. And I don't know how many times